Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. We will start today our discussion on chronic disease. We have read from Organon of Medicine and some portion of the chronic diseases from the theory of chronic disease by Samuel Hahnemann. Now, this we will start. We will refer to go directly actually to Roberts. Okay, and we have already discussed that Robert is the best book to begin with the understanding of chronic diseases. Okay, we won't discuss academic means we won't discuss the Kent's chronic diseases for the purpose that it is not necessary for our clinical purpose. Okay, this is necessary for the academic purpose to some extent, and if time permits we will discuss that portion of Kent's lecture also, which is necessary for our academic purpose. For all the practical purpose, Robert is the best book to start with. For beginners like us, it is necessary to go through Robert's chronic diseases. Okay, we have completed, I think, aphorism number 81, the modification of Sora, and today we will start from Roberts. Okay, before going to aphorism number 82 and onwards, because this 82 is the link between the knowledge of disease in general and knowledge of disease in particular. It is a linking aphorism between case taking and between this general survey of disease. Aphorism number 82. Okay, so have you got your Roberts with you? Welcome, Rashmi. Have you got your Roberts with you? I cannot hear you if you are telling something.
Sorry, sir, your voice was breaking.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Okay, yes, you are audible now. Tell me. Have you got your
Yeah, what
Roberts
were
with
you
you?
asking, sir?
I was asking, have you got your
Yes,
Roberts
sir.
with you? Okay, thank you. So we will
Yes, sir.
start
Yes, sir.
Roberts. Okay, thank you. Chapter number, go to chapter number 22, disease classification. Disease classification. I will ask you to underline something. No need to read the whole paragraph. I will ask you to underline paragraph number 30. Paragraph number 3. Go to paragraph number 3. A contemporary of Cuvier was Samuel Hahnemann. Who was Cuvier? He classified the kingdoms. Okay, he have given animal kingdom the classification. Okay, and he was contemporary of Samuel Hahnemann. Okay, what Samuel Hahnemann have done? Master Hahnemann have done the classification of disease. Okay, the classification of disease. And what was the basis of classification? Hahnemann's basis of classification. What was the basis of Hahnemann's classification? How he classified disease? Any idea how Hahnemann classified disease? He classified disease on the basis of symptoms. Okay, Hahnemannian classification of disease is basing on symptoms. Okay, while the disease classification in the old school or so-called modern school is pathology. The classification of disease in old school, allopathic school, is pathological. Okay, and Hahnemannian classification of disease is symptomatological. Symptomatology. Clear? Clear? So, paragraph number 3, 4, 5. Start from paragraph number 5.
As Cuvier classified zoology into four great kingdoms, so Hahnemann classified disease into four great divisions. Since the principles of classification would fail unless these classifications were all embracive, it was the work of several years to trace the course of each disease to its origin and place it in its proper classification, with due regard to its source and development.
Underline Hahnemann classified into four great divisions. Four great divisions. Okay. And go to next paragraph. First, underline first.
The first of this
And
classification
then
was
underline.
simple,
Okay.
in that it embraces all diseases that might spring from mechanical and exterior sources. This included fractures, strains.
Okay. Up to this. First, all diseases, mechanical or exterior sources. Don't read beyond that. You will get confused with indisposition. Okay. No need to confuse it with indisposition. Indisposition is totally a different thing. First, all diseases of mechanical and exterior sources. Okay. Those surgical diseases we have noted while we were reading Organon of Medicine. We have noted that the whole wherever Hahnemann is discussing about diseases, classification of diseases, he is excluding surgical diseases wherever. But yesterday we have noted in one aphorism where Hahnemann have excluded the inappropriately named chronic diseases also and artificial chronic diseases also. Okay, so these can be termed in first. This can be means put together in the first type of diseases. Okay, first is all diseases from mechanical or exterior sources. This you can add in the margin that this can include inappropriately named chronic diseases and plus the artificial chronic diseases. Okay, next line. Next to next
Next,
paragraph. Next paragraph.
claims have been made that the followers of Hahnemann treat disease, applying remedies according
Your,
only to
your
the
voice is
symptomatic applicability of the remedies. Precisely that Hahnemann made one classification of disease dependent entirely on external causes, such as the mechanical conditions. It was
next.
Hahnemann's teaching. It was Hahnemann's teaching that the removal of the cause was the first step in the proper method of cure. Time surgical procedure, rectification of diet, the removal of irritating substances, change of environment, anything and everything that may place the patient in the best possible relation for complete, which will take place of itself when the cause is removed. Hahnemann taught by precept and example the value of thinking through to the beginning, the first cause of disease conditions and treating them accordingly.
Next.
In his observation of cases and in the further study of the progress of diseased condition under the homeopathic method of treatment, Hahnemann was especially struck with the course of non-venereal diseases. Hahnemann found himself treating
Underline
seemingly
this.
acute conditions.
Underline this. Hahnemann was especially struck with the course of non-venereal diseases. We have told we can divide chronic miasm into venereal and non-venereal. Okay, venereal are of two types: psychosis and syphilis, and non-venereal is SORA. Next. Please
Hahnemann
go.
found himself Hahnemann found himself treating seemingly acute conditions with apparent success, but to his surprise, these cases would return with a recurrence of symptoms at intervals. Sometimes these symptoms were very had before, while at other times there would be an aggravation of the previous condition or other variations. Considerable study of
Underline
these
recurrence of
cases
symptom
convinced
at intervals. Underline recurrence of symptoms at interval. Okay, we have told Hahnemann worked hard to perfect his symptoms, his system of medicine. Whenever he was stuck, he was not stopped there. We have seen this in cases of homeopathic aggravation where Hahnemann was stuck and he then moved on with minimizing the doses. Similar things happen here in the courses of non-venereal diseases. He found that my medicine is working as a palliative, and this same symptoms are recurring again and again. And he found that in which type of cases? The individual acute diseases, okay, which is springing from latent sora. Aphorism number 73, individual acute diseases, not those of acute diseases which are springing from acute miasms. Okay, those acute miasms are of fixed character, unvarying nature. Hahnemann knows, and whenever they are coming a recurring nature, they will be given medicine and they will be cured for long, and of non-recurring nature occurring only once in a lifetime and they will go. Which type of acute diseases Hahnemann was facing problem? Hahnemann was facing problem with those individual type of acute diseases, those he is telling are springing from the sora, okay, latent sora. Okay, these mainly these diseases which were actually problematic for him, and he started his search. Please go on.
Sometimes these symptoms were very similar to those they had before, while at other times there would be an aggravation of the previous condition or other variations. Considerable study of these cases convinced Hahnemann that there was some underlying condition which was the mainspring of these recurrent manifestations and which was causing more or less gradually a retrograde condition. Although the acute manifestations were apparently met and conquered by the homeopathic remedy, it occurred to him that he was treating in these acute conditions only a part of the real disease. Otherwise, the
Underline
disease would
this,
have
underline this, and underline that also. Underline condition which was the mainspring. Hahnemann, this convinced Hahnemann that there was some underlying condition, from that to a retrograde condition up to that. Then underline, it occurred to him that he was treating in these acute conditions only a part of real disease. Otherwise, disease would have become completely and permanently cured by administration of similimum. Okay, next paragraph.
if these exacerbated symptoms were but a fragment of the disease, then there must be a much deeper, primitive force underlying these sporadic manifestations, which could be judged only by the force and frequency of the reappearance. It became Hahnemann's study to take into consideration these deeper conditions from which sprang the acute diseases as a part of the prescription necessary to cure. It was his aim to find a remedy which would meet the acute condition and the presumably hidden condition at the same time. In order to undertake this stupendous task, it was necessary to study a vast number of cases and to consider and develop a number of remedies to meet his requirements and find a remedy which was to cure both the acute symptoms and the underlying chronic sickness, to conquer the hidden primitive malady.
Okay, so this is actually not true. Hahnemann is not advising that these acute conditions here. There will be a misconception if we not discussed it, that in acute conditions Hahnemann is not advising that don't give antisoric medicines or anti-miasmatic medicine. Never have Hahnemann advised in these acute conditions to give, be it in mental disease, be it in intermittent diseases. Go and read the intermittent disease aphorism, read the mental disease aphorism. You will find when the acute conditions have been met, okay, this portion is written there. When the acute conditions have been met with the acute medicines or general class of proved medicine, non-antisoric medicines, okay, when this have been met, then only antisoric medicines to be given to prevent the relapse. Okay, same condition in the intermittent disease, intermittent fevers, and same condition in the acute mental disease, and same condition can be applied in any acute condition. Okay, there are acute diseases, okay, what we are calling individual acute disease, okay, what we are calling acute miasmatic disease, that is epidemic disease, sporadic disease, acute miasmatic diseases, and there are acute exacerbation of chronic disease. Okay, this individual acute disease is what? It is the explosion of latent sora. Okay, it is the explosion of latent sora. समझ लो, यहाँ sora is this is sora which is sleeping there. Okay, some circumstances have came and poked. Okay, some circumstances, some causation came and poked. Okay, what will happen? This sora is exploding. Okay, this is acute individual disease. Okay, what will happen now? After some time, if the diet and regime is maintained, you have given medicine, it will go to its latent stage. It will go down to its latent stage. Acute disease finished, and go down to its latent stage. What kind of acute disease it was? It was acute disease of this individual nature. Okay, but until and unless this sora is there, that acute explosion will be taking place at times. One time it will come that it is no longer latent, it is a full-fledged sora. No longer latent, it is a full-fledged sora. Now this full-fledged sora will be compromised with the constitution of patient and running into a chronic disease, and sometimes there is acute exacerbation. Both have two different aspects. That was individual acute disease, and this is sometime occasional acute exacerbation. It is running at a frequency, and there sometimes asthmatic patient, sometimes having chronic breathing distress. So in that case, chronic breathing distress increases. In that case, you can prescribe your chronic medicine. That will help, but not in the individual acute disease. Individual acute disease or acute diseases should be met with the acute remedies. Okay, acute diseases should be met with acute remedies. Clear? Same thing Hahnemann have discussed while discussing the mental diseases, where a general class of proved remedy should be given for the acute condition. See aphorism number 221. Okay, if however insanity, mania have suddenly broken out as an acute disease in the patient's ordinary calm state, although it almost always arises from internal sora, same thing can be applied to the physical disease. Okay, Hahnemann is applying here in mental disease, same thing can be applied to physical disease. Like a flame bursting forth from it, yet when it occurs in this acute manner, it should not be immediately treated with antisorics, but in first place with the remedies indicated for it out from the other class of proved medicaments, that is aconite, bilotrol, stramonium, hyoscyamus, etc. Mercury is also included here. Mercury may be acute medicine, may be chronic medicine, okay, and etc. in highly potentized minute homeopathic doses in order. Next, 222. Patient who have recovered from acute mental or emotional disease by use of non-antisoric medicine should never be regarded as cured. Prolonged antisoric treatment is needed. Underline that. Prolonged antisoric treatment. Okay. So this is what Robert meant here, that one medicine which is covering the acute totality and chronic totality. It is not that in cases of individual acute diseases is different and acute exacerbation of chronic diseases is different. Clear? The concept is clear. And what Hahnemann was facing, this is regular acute intervals, regular acute explosion of latent sora, regular. And you was thinking why this is coming out regular. At times, a time will come that sora is no longer going to sleep. Sora is no longer going to sleep at times. Okay, then you will know that you are dealing with a full-fledged sora. Okay, you are dealing with the full-fledged sora. Same thing in acute skin diseases. I can quote examples, many examples from Organon, where Hahnemann had advised that should be this should be treated acute, these acute diseases should be treated with acute medicines. Okay, go to aphorism number 194. 194, last line, last line. Palpable chronic disease, palpable chronic disease, 194, last line. Palpable chronic disease, 195. In order to effect a radical cure in such cases, radical cure in such cases, which are by no means rare, state the pretty well subsided. After the acute state has pretty well subsided, an appropriate antisoric treatment, underline this, okay, underline this, and go to 194. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8th line, 8th line. General store of proved remedy, general store of proved medicine, footnote, aconite, rustox, belladonna, mercury, footnote, aconite, rustox, belladonna, mercury. These are general class of proved remedy. So this paragraph I hope is clear. Okay, that is not that one you have to search a medicine which is covering both acute and chronic. Nowhere have Hahnemann mentioned. So if it is acute, you have to give it acute medicine. Then to prevent any relapse, you can start with your chronic treatment. But in cases of chronic acute exacerbation of chronic disease, you can give your chronic disease, chronic medicine. In that case, can give acute also. Clear? Now, read on, please. Next.
This involved two lines of investigation, one in natural chronic disease conditions and one in artificially produced disease conditions, which should be similar in symptomatology and depth of action to the natural disease.
Okay, medicine and disease. This is the medicine, this is the disease. What you have to do, you have to match it. Okay, you have to match it. Okay, not this, not this. This is not matching. This is not matching. You have to this. Antitype. This is antitype, mirror image. Okay, matching, matching. Medicinal diseases in materia medica and the disease in the case in the clinic. You have to match it. That is what. Next.
In his study of disease, he separated all disease conditions into the four great groups before mentioned. The mechanical conditions were easily detected and classified. To the three remaining groups, Hahnemann gave the term miasms.
Underline this. To the three remaining group, Hahnemann gave the term miasm. Here, Hahnemann have not, Robert have not mentioned about acute miasm, chronic miasm. We have discussed half spiritual miasm, half acute miasm, infectious miasm, peculiar miasm. Okay, these are miasm is actually dynamic disease producing power, term related to dynamic disease producing power. So miasm means dynamic disease producing power. Whether it is producing acute disease, then it will be calling acute miasm. If it is producing chronic disease, it will be calling chronic miasm. Okay, next.
The manifestations of chronic disease conditions, which Hahnemann called miasms, were so designated by him for want of a better term. In fact, in the German language and in Hahnemann's day, the word miasm properly defined the idea Hahnemann had in mind. In the development of modern diagnostic terms and in the English language of today, This designation seems to be out of place and a word of explanation is needed. According to the common definition, a miasm is defined as polluting exhalations or malarial poisons. It is obvious that the word in English does not interpret intelligently Hahnemann's meaning. Therefore, the residual poisons of syphilis and gonorrhea that have become, according to Hahnemann's classification, the miasms of syphilis and psychosis might better be termed the stigmata of syphilis and gonorrhea.
So this is the term stigmata Roberts is using for miasm. Underline this, stigmata or stigma, okay, or stigma. Uh, in the last paragraph, underline German language. In the German language and in Hahnemann's day, the word miasm properly defined the idea of Hahnemann had in mind. In the German language, not the English language. So, German is a rich language, okay. There is often a single term in German. You will find that accessory circumstances, two terms are there. In German language, Hahnemann uses single term for this. Okay, so German is quite a rich language, and so as a meaning in the German is what Hahnemann was having in the mind, but in English, the miasm is not conveying the term. Okay, what Hahnemann was having in mind, so that Robert is following that it should be stigmata. Okay, next.
The effect of either virus affecting the primordial cell casts a stigma or blight upon the developing cell that is nearly ineffaceable.
Leave it. Next
stigma,
paragraph. Next paragraph.
The word psychosis, coming from the Greek word meaning fig, has found a place in the modern medical dictionary with several definitions, one of which is as follows. Hahnemann's term for the constitutional effects of the gonorrheal virus.
Okay, underline this. We have told before that before Hahnemann, no one have discovered that syphilis, psychosis is also having this. Psychosis is also having this term, means this constitutional effect. Before Hahnemann, no one have discovered that. So this is Hahnemannian term for the constitutional effect of psychosis. Next.
Thus, we see that one of the accepted definitions of the word psychosis is that which Hahnemann had in mind and which he called alternatively the fig wort disease. In many instances, it was very easy for him to trace the venereal relationship of disease conditions, and he soon found it easy to recognize the branding of this group. At first, he classed these under one head, but later divided the venereal miasms into two classifications, syphilis and psychosis or gonorrhea.
Underline this. Tracing was in the venereal diseases, tracing was very easy. Tracing back the constitutional symptom in syphilis, Hutchinson's teeth, cleft palate, okay, the insane palsy. In the offspring, that Hutchinson's teeth and cleft palate was there, but in the person affected with syphilis, at some point of time, even after removal of the local symptom, the person was suffering from several nervous disorders, which was directly traced back to the syphilis, constitutional effect of syphilis, and this was known to the old school before Hahnemann. But the constitutional effect of psychosis, Hahnemann have discovered and have told in Organon of Medicine that hitherto, go to that paragraph, that aphorism 79, aphorism number 79. Hitherto, syphilis alone has been to some extent known as such a chronic miasmatic disease, which when uncured ceases only with termination of life. Psychosis equally, this was the discovery of Hahnemann. Okay, psychosis equally has a constitutional effect, and this was the discovery of Hahnemann. Clear? Now, go next.
Sora. However, the great majority of disease conditions remained unclassified. For 10 years, cases were
For 10
studied.
years. Why Robert is telling 10 years? Why Robert is telling 10 years? How many years Hahnemann took to discover? How many years Hahnemann took to discover this chronic disease?
To
Go to aphorism number 80 footnote. Aphorism number 80 footnote.
12 years.
Written there. And Robert is telling 10
Yes, sir.
years. Why? When Hahnemann himself is telling that I investigated the source of this incredibly large number of chronic affections. Okay, so it should be the statement of Hahnemann which should be valued. Okay, the statement of Hahnemann should be valued here. So it is mistake here for 10 years. Okay, for 12 years. It should be for 12 years, not for 10 years. And you cannot say that Hahnemann was investigating syphilis and psychosis for 2 years and Sora for 10 years. Not like that. Okay, syphilis and psychosis were discovered already, but whole chronic diseases, Hahnemann have worked over it for 12 years. And I have also, already told before that 1816, that Hufland's article in which he commented that homeopathy can remove the disease, remove the symptom, but disease remain. That was the article which was published in 1824. Okay, so before that only Hahnemann also knew that there is something, something is striking the cure. Okay, something is there which is obstacle, which is acting as an obstacle for cure. Okay, so Hahnemann was working over it from 1816 and he published his work in 1828. And before the publication, just before the publication, Hahnemann have told his two disciples, Sharp and Gross, his two disciples, Dr. Sharp and Dr. Gross. Dr. Gross mentioned we have in footnote of introduction where he was advocating isopathy. Okay, these two disciples of Hahnemann have been conveyed by Hahnemann the knowledge of chronic miasm even before the publication of chronic diseases. So Hahnemann here is telling that for 12 years I spent around 12 years to investigate the sources of these many. Actually, he was mainly investigating Sora. Okay, now go on.
For, uh, for 10 years, cases were studied, patients were closely questioned, and even history was called upon to divulge the course of diseases through the centuries. Through endless difficulties, Hahnemann traced these hitherto unclassified diseases and gave to them the name of Sora. This word Sora, which Hahnemann used to denote the third great miasm, is defined by the modern medical dictionary as follows. Scabies, psoriasis, Hahnemann's term for the itch dyscrasia, defined as the parent of all chronic diseases, skin diseases, neoplasms, insanity, etc. It was similar to, though of more extended application than, the herpetidiathesis of French writers, and the definition adds P. leprosa, psoriasis.
Next.
Funk and
Next.
Wagnall's dictionary gives Sora, pathol, the itch or some such similar skin disease, the itch mite. The derivation is Latin and Greek, but it is rather Hebraic in origin, coming through the Greek and Latin, the original word being sorat.
Which
Interpretation of
means
this Hebrew
Sorat, which means it is written a groove.
a groove, a fault, a pollution.
Hmm.
Interpretation of this Hebrew word sorat conveys clearly the thought Hahnemann had in mind. Sorat, a groove, a fault, a pollution, a stigma, often applied to leprous manifestation and to the Great Plagues. It is the meaning of the original Hebrew word that we must regard as the basis for the term covering this constitutional defect. In the light
Okay.
of modern
Okay, these are different terms used by Hahnemann. It is your duty to find out in chronic diseases, in this book, Chronic Diseases, what other names Hahnemann have suggested. I will give you this means assignment. I am giving you to find out what other names Hahnemann have used for Sora. This is often asked in your undergraduate as well as in the postgraduate examination, that what other words Hahnemann have used for this Sora, and you will get in first 20 to 23 paragraphs of this chronic diseases. Okay, next.
In the light of modern comprehension of these conditions classified by Hahnemann as SORA, we may not doubt but that the original meaning of the Hebrew word had greater significance than we have understood, a groove, a fault. With
Okay,
our growing knowledge,
next para, leave that. Next para, that is Robert's own theory about Sora is nothing but nutritional deficiency. Okay, psychosis is nothing but overconstruction. Okay, syphilis is nothing but destruction. Okay, these are Robert's own theory regarding that. Sora nutritional deficiency, okay, but Sora is only nutritional deficiency. This is not okay. Okay, psychosis over construction, okay, but psychosis is only over construction. This is not okay. So we will not go through those theories of Roberts. Okay, next.
the vast majority of the diseases of the earth came under this great classification, which has been called the mother of all diseases. And Hahnemann found that there was a traceable relationship between these chronic manifestations and the many various plagues which had troubled the peoples of the earth since the most ancient times, manifesting themselves in various ways, such as the ancient plagues of Egypt, leprosy. At one time, France alone had over 2,000 homes for lepers, and the itch poison which swept Europe at a later date. In many instances, Hahnemann found there was a close connection between such grave infections, diseases, and the patients with stubborn recurring symptoms.
Underline this: close connection between such grave infectious diseases and patient with stubborn recurring symptoms. Next.
Hahnemann became convinced that these recurring symptoms owed their existence to this chronic miasm which he called sora, and that of itself this condition could never be cured. While the acute manifestations may subside and be quiescent for a considerable period, the chronic state that caused the acute eruption of symptoms never dies until it is met with the similar remedy.
Okay, next. Wait a
Hahnemann
second.
found
Wait
that
a
this
minute. Wait a minute. What actually trying to convey here, Hahnemann? What actually Robert is trying to convey? Go to aphorism number 81, footnote. Aphorism number 81, footnote. Second footnote means last footnote of aphorism number 81. How many improper, ambiguous names do not these work contain? Read that and underline that. 81, last footnote. Got it? Aphorism number 81, last footnote. How many improper, ambiguous name do not these work contains, under each of which are included excessively different morbid condition which often resembles each other in one single symptoms, like ague, jaundice, dropsy, consumption, leukorrhea, hemorrhoids, rheumatism, apoplexy, convulsion, hysteria, hypochondriasis, melancholia, mania, quinsy, palsy, etc., which are represented as disease of fixed and unvarying character and are treated on account of their name according to determinant plan. Okay, Stop here. Now look here. Headache. Okay. Leukorrhea. Leukorrhea. Consumption. Consumption. They are telling that these are different disease, and headache is to be treated, leukorrhea is to be treated, consumption is to be treated again and again. But what Hahnemann found, they have a same springing source. Okay, that source is sora. That source is sora. ओके, सो रावण को देखा है तो उसके 10 सर हैं, है ना, हाइड्रा हेडेड मॉन्स्टर, 10 सर हैं, मगर रावण तो एक ही है. सेम वाइज सोरा इज वन, हैव डिफरेंट मैनिफेस्टेशंस. ओके, इट मे this much different manifestations, this much different manifestation. Why these different manifestations are happening? Because of these modifying influences. Consider this. Okay, a person, this person is having a base of sora, okay, and other psychosis, syphilis and all these. Okay, if this person, chances are there that this person may develop lung cancer. Okay, chances are there this person may develop cirrhosis. Okay, okay, but this base is same, sora. What will direct it? What will direct it to develop lung cancer and to develop this cirrhosis? Accessory circumstances, the modifying influences. If this person happened to smoke tobacco, okay, if this person happened to smoke, this lung cancer will develop. Okay, if this person happened to drink alcohol, okay, this cirrhosis will be developed. You cannot say this lung cancer is different from this sora. Okay, you cannot say this lung cancer is different from this sora. This sora is there but has been modified. Okay, sora plus psychosis, syphilis maybe had been modified according to modifying influences. That is aphorism number 81 footnote. स्मोक किया तो अलग पाथ पे पड़ा, अल्कोहल लिया तो अलग पाथ पे पड़ा. ओके, if there was some other modifying influences, then there were some other disease. Okay, but this different name of disease, this different name of disease are not for our treatment. Okay, we will treat this sora. Okay, not it these different name. We won't consider headache as separate, leukorrhea as separate, and consumption as separate, because it is springing from the same source, springing from the same source, that is sora. Clear? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so come here to this where we have left. I think Rashmi lost the connection. Please read.
Robert,
Robert, yes, Robert.
Hahnemann became convinced that these recurring symptoms owed their existence to this chronic miasm, which he called sora, and that of itself this condition could never be cured. While the acute manifestations may subside and be quiescent for a considerable period, the chronic state that caused the acute eruptions of symptoms never dies until it is met with the similar remedy. Hahnemann found that this form of disease was first made manifest on the skin as a skin infection or eruptions. This was its natural place. But here the natural manifestation is susceptible of suppression by form of treatment, such as lotions, ointment, mineral baths, surgical operations with the removal of organs, and anything that tend to obliterate the manifestations on the surface by seemingly curing the external symptom. It is on the surface that it naturally thrives, and here it will do the least harm. By suppression, this
Underline this.
constitutional
Here it will do
state.
the least harm. Here it will do the least harm. Underline this and meanwhile underline that also. This form of disease was first made manifest on the skin. Okay. And next line underline also, by suppression, this constitutional state become more manifest in a train of distressing symptoms. Underline that also. By suppression,
Yes, sir. So, suppression, this constitutional state becomes more manifest in a train of distressing symptoms so long as the skin manifestation is constant and may affect any parts of the body.
okay. Next.
Hahnemann found too that many chronic ailments which are enumerated in pathological works under distinct names originate, with few exceptions, in this widely ramified sora. All skin manifestations and conditions, almost all adventitious formations such as swelling of the glands, sarcomatous and carcinomatous tumor, deformed bony structures, hemorrhagic tendencies, all suppuration, functional disturbances, nutritional disturbances, all of the acute disease
Underline this
manifestations,
also.
all the
All of the
conditions.
acute disease. All of the acute disease. We are telling individual acute diseases are manifestation of latent sora. All of the acute diseases.
All these conditions Hahnemann traced to this source and classified under the head of source.
Okay. Next.
It is characteristic of skin
One
in these
interesting
conditions
story
that
is
there
that
is.
one interesting story is that when Hahnemann was working on it, that why I am getting this again and again, getting these symptoms again and again, Hahnemann found that coffee, before discovery of this sora, I don't know whether I have told you this or not. One interesting story is this: Hahnemann found that Germans are using, where Hahnemann was practicing in Germany, so Germans were using coffee, and he traced back all these symptoms to coffee. Okay, before discovering of sora, he was telling this coffee is the cause of all the chronic miasms, all the diseases can be traced back to coffee. If you read his article on the bad effect of coffee, you will find that Hahnemann is mentioning all the bad effect, all the diseases. These diseases have been attributed to sora. No, before discovery of this, Hahnemann was telling that all is due to coffee. Later on, disregarded that. Later on, disregarded that theory that coffee is not the all of the chronic diseases, but still hold the notion that coffee is harmful during the homeopathic treatment. Okay, so whenever Hahnemann was stuck, he was trying to find out the solution, be it in the doses, be it in the repetition or recurrence of the symptoms. Okay, now next.
It is characteristic of the skin in these conditions that there is considerable itching, for psoric conditions always itch. In fact, not only was sora considered the mother of all diseases, but it might well have been considered as the source of almost all subjective symptoms, especially those described by patients. Sensation as if. In
Underline this:
classifying those constitutional.
source of almost all the subjective symptoms. Sensation as if. These are the book. This is a book by Robert himself. Sensation as if.
In classifying those constitutional diseases which have not run a course, through so many centuries, that is, the venereal classification, it has been noted that their action has been swifter and, while at times more destructive, the subjective symptoms have been presented in the degree in which SORA has been present in the system.
Underline this. The subjective symptom have been present in degree in which SORA has been present in the system. Okay. If the SORA is predominantly present, what you will find in heart cases, heart diseases. Okay. SORA will have, we will read it further in Roberts himself is mentioning that সোরা পেশেন্ট উইল বি ডাক্তারবাবু চিক চিক করছে टिक टिक করছে पिन पिन করছে खूब ये হচ্ছে মানে सब हो रहा है हर तरह का सेंसेशन दे रहा है but patient is of least dangerous state. Okay, but syphilis heart patient and psychotic heart patient will never give you a single symptom even without pain. Have you heard about painless ischemia, painless ischemic attack in diabetic patients? कब पेन हुआ कब मर गया पता नहीं चला. Okay, that is the degree prominency of the miasm present. SORA was not prominent in that. Syphilis was taking the upper hand, and so all of a sudden patient died, giving no complaint. But if the SORA is there, patient will trouble you the most. He will take his pulse. He will take his pulse and tell Dr. Babu, मेरा pulse जो है ज़्यादा हो रहा है, कम हो रहा है, ऐसा हो रहा है, वैसा हो रहा है. Lots of these symptoms. Okay. Next. So the degree in which the SORA has been present in the system, subjective symptom will be there. Next.
Although fundamental miasms have their period of remission, latent states lasting perhaps for years without showing any manifestation, some sudden crisis in the history of individual may rouse them to
Underline this.
sudden
Fundamental miasms, underline this, have their period of remission, latent state, lasting perhaps for years without showing any manifestation. That is what we have told. During the flourishing years of youth, during the flourishing years of youth, do you remember that? Aphorism 8
yes,
footnote.
sir.
Okay.
Modifying influences on the transformation of SORA.
No, not modifying influence. During the flourishing years of youth, it is not consequable. They are remain unrecognized. Aphorism number 78 footnote 6th edition. Okay, lasting in the latent stage, apparently healthy stage, but some sudden crisis in the history of the individual, underline this, sudden crisis, may rouse them to sudden eruption and patient will become severely disturbed in health. Now go on.
These crises may be in the form of accidents, exposure, some slight infection, indiscretion of diet or hygiene, some apparently simple thing out of all proportion to serious consequences. In this class come the pneumonias following accidents and exposure, infections from slight wound, almost all of those grave states roused by a seemingly slight cause.
Slight cause. If there is a slight cause and there you developed a gangrene, what does this mean? This means that the cause, what has happened to AGD. We have discussed the story of AGD. AGD was a veterinary surgeon. He fall out of his horse, fall from his horse and got a gangrene and has been suggested an amputation by the doctors. He found that Hahnemann, one physician called Hahnemann, has discovered a new system of treatment. He wrote him that this has happened to me. What is your What is your suggestion? Hahnemann directly asked at what point of time you have suppressed the eruption. So AGD got surprised at how this man knows that I have suppressed an eruption. So he came to Hahnemann and was treated and saved by amputation. So there was a slight cause, but that slight cause have rose up SORA. Okay. So even if there is some slight cause causing an external disease, causing a disease of very grave character. That means the disease was already there, just it has been shown by this, okay, by this crisis, by this grief, next, by this accident.
Here, the homeopathic physician, by taking into consideration the psoric background, will bring into play the remedies that are related in their symptomatology to these psoric states, and he will be able to do most effective work.
Okay, next you will read by yourself, next few paragraphs completed by yourself, and we will start from next chapter onward from tomorrow. Okay, next, nothing important is
Yes,
there,
sir.
just complete it by yourself. Any question you are having, you can ask.
Sir, Sora only produce functional symptom, or it may produce structural changes or some pathological
Yes, of
changes?
course. With the syphilis, with the psychosis, it will produce the structural changes. It will produce the structural changes.
But sir,
With
as we
syphilis and
read in
psychosis,
the books, Sora,
alone cannot produce. Sora alone cannot produce. Okay. What you are asking something?
सर किसी फुटनोट में दिया है जहाँ पर सोरा फंडामेंटल कॉज बताया है उसको आई थिंक
किसका?
80 में ही दिया है
204 फुटनोट 204 footnote 204 205. See, I cannot therefore advise, for instance, the local extirpation of so-called cancer of the lip and face. Okay, the product of highly developed sora. Okay, see the sixth edition. The product of highly developed sora, not infrequently in conjunction of syphilis. Okay,
यस
got it?
यस सर
Sora, along with syphilis or psychosis, will produce structural changes. Likewise, syphilis and psychosis, along with Sora, will produce structural changes. So and so that Kent have said that Sora, syphilis and psychosis cannot exist alone. It needs soric base. But Hahnemann have said that Sora is different and psychosis and syphilis is different. Clear?
यस
Any further question you ask?
यस सर
Yes, please go on.
मतलब ऑल दीज मतलब सर ये जो भी चेंजेस हैं वो ये काइंड ऑफ मतलब इसी के टाइप हैं सोरिक टाइप हैं जितना भी पैथोलॉजिकल चेंजेस है कैंसरस चेंजेस हैं या कोई
Yes,
भी
yes, yes.
ट्यूमर्स हैं
Yes, yes. And there maybe Hahnemann have left space to discover some new miasm, but these, like tubercular diathesis, someone is calling it miasm, but it is actually, it will be easier for us if we consider only these three miasms. Okay, people are telling that malaria is miasm, typhoid is miasm. Wait. Am I audible?
यस सर यू आर ऑडिबल
Okay, there was a call that is why I am asking. So people are saying that typhoid is miasm, malaria is miasm, chickenpox is miasm. Those are miasms. Chickenpox, typhoid, these are, I have already told, these are can be considered as miasm. But what kind of miasm? The acute miasm, having a particular reminiscence effect. Okay, it cannot disturb the economy so that a full-fledged chronic disease will come. Okay, these sort of acute miasms are, you are telling that HIV, people are telling that cancer is miasm, HIV is miasm, that is a different thing. But if you are telling typhoid is miasm and chickenpox is miasm, measles are miasm, dengue is miasm, there are people who are telling there are 24 miasms altogether. What they are trying to do, classified it into acute miasm. Each of these have a particular reminiscence effect, which is causing an obstacle to cure. Okay, not developing a disease. But the SORA is a sort of miasm, chronic miasm is a sort of miasm, which is giving a train of symptom, train of pathology, train of diseases. But if you are telling cancer is a miasm, okay, it is your understanding that cancer is a miasm, and you are trying to hold out just like this. That if I am telling cancer is a miasm, okay, you are seeing from here, okay, you wait, CA is a miasm, okay, and from this diseases are springing, okay, you are seeing from here, but I am seeing from here. Sora, along with syphilis and psychosis, have converted it into a complex state of cancerous diathesis. This cancerous diathesis is giving all these type of symptoms. You are also correct in telling that cancer is a miasm, but I am also correct in telling that I am seeing this sora, syphilis, and psychosis. So what is easier? Easier is considering only these three miasms. Okay, from here only the tubercular miasms have came, tubercular diathesis is came. Okay, and we have told this tubercular is nothing but sora and psychosis or syphilis. Okay, mainly Robert is telling sora and syphilis is tubercular, but JHLN is telling sora syphilis or sora and psychosis is tubercular. So what will be more easier, considering sora and syphilis and sora and psychosis or tubercular miasm? So never call tubercular diathesis as miasm. This is a diathesis prepared from this chronic miasm. So far your question goes that all these pathologies are the product of these only three, the sora, syphilis, and psychosis. Yes, only these three in different combination, and this will be the notion we will be holding fast. Okay, sora, syphilis, and psychosis, only three miasms are there which are giving rise to another state, tubercular state, cancerous state. All these states have been produced, all these diseases have been produced from these one at one place of time. We were interns in NIH, and we asked our teacher, one of our revered teacher who was famous for prescribing on miasm. We asked that, sir, only 12 to 13 medicines you are using. Why only 12 to 30 medicines you are using for all the diseases? He told how many diseases we have to cure, and we were struck with surprise, and he pointed that only three, sora, psychosis, and syphilis. So how easy the practice was for him, that he was considering those basic and only 12 to 13 medicines he was using. Okay, prescription on the miasm. Clear?
Yes, sir. So we cannot say that particular one is single miasm is specific for a single disease, like
No, not like that. We cannot
already.
say. We cannot say. Miasm in different proportion. Okay. एक ही चावल से और चीनी से खिरनी भी बनता है, खीर भी बनता है ना? दोनों टेस्ट किए हो, टेस्ट अलग अलग है. क्यों है?
Yes.
दूध, चावल, चीनी कॉम्बिनेशन एक ही है ना? कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट एक ही है, मगर उसका प्रोपोर्शन अलग अलग हो जाता है, बनाने का तरीका अलग अलग हो जाता है ना? खिचड़ी में भी
Yes.
आलू और ये पड़ रहा है, चावल पड़ रहा है, खिचड़ा बन रहा है एक तरह का जिसमें आलू चावल पड़ रहा है, बिरयानी में भी आलू चावल पड़ रहा है. दोनों का प्रोपोर्शन अलग है, बनाने का तरीका अलग है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट सेम है मगर प्रोडक्ट डिफरेंट आ रहा है. सेम थिंग कैन बी टोल्ड to the miasm. Constituent are same, sora, syphilis, and psychosis, but in different portion product is differing. But that doesn't mean that this is a separate disease. This is springing from the same source. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Means, sir, sora should be in the background for any type of disease.
Yes. Sora should be in
Yes.
the background. And according to Kent, even for syphilis and psychosis, sora should be there. But according to Hahnemann, what we have told already, sora, psychosis, and syphilis are different. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We will meet again on Monday. Okay. Read those few paragraphs by yourself and we will start from next chapter onwards. Thank you very much.